Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Yo. Spent so much time with Girardi. Yo. I even threw that in the broadcast on Football Friday. That's a yo-wo moment. He said, how do you spell that? It's Y-O-W-H-O-A.
H-O-A.
Yo-wo. Yeah. Well, big weekend. We found out that you can catch the ball, fumble, and still win the game. I have no idea what those people are watching yesterday in the Eagles-Bills game. I mean, and the Eagles are very good. They are not great. There are no great teams in the NFL this year. None. It doesn't matter at the end if you're the one that wins the Super Bowl. You're the Super Bowl winner, and you're a champion.
Yep.
So it's all results-based. They're 10-1, but they're a 10-1 that would be in other eras would, I think, by other teams would get just absolutely okay. It's not like they don't have a lot of good players. They do, but they've got a lot of deficiencies. And it's been showing up especially – it's really shown up all season. And it showed up yesterday against Buffalo. Remember, Buffalo's out there. They don't have their middle linebacker and they don't have their top corner. Right? Sorry. Right? And he fumbled the ball. He caught it and he fumbled it. I thought it in real time, and I watched the replay. Go, yep, that's a turnover. I'm like, well, what? He caught it and he fumbled. Then I'm watching the Chargers-Ravens game. Same thing happened, and they called that a fumble. Like, what are we doing?
Same thing happened in the Ohio State-Michigan game.
Yeah, what are we doing here?
Yep.
Like, come on. Yeah. You caught it and fumbled in the Ohio State-Michigan game. So let's get to the Penn State part. Then we'll get to the only thing you want to talk about.
I'll be hearing about it all week. So the whole state of Pennsylvania will be on me this week.
I mean, dreadful. The dreadful team you root for. Right out there making trades to just get guys.
Yeah.
It's like, we have money. We just take anybody we want. You're the Yankees of the West Coast. But so we'll get to Penn State basketball first. Then I'll get to the football part. Offensively, they're doing well enough offensively. Yeah, they do. They have to be a better three-point shooting team. There's no question they need to be a better three-point shooting team. But, offensively, they're really pretty much in the middle 70s almost the entire time. And yesterday, they were 1.05 points per possession. Well, 1.05 points per possession is going to win you a lot of games. But the problem is obvious. You need to stop the ball. The three games against Texas A&M, Butler, and VCU, all three teams scored in the 80s. And yesterday, VCU was 1.226 points per possession. You're not going to win any games when that happens. They went through stretches where they would play really terrific basketball at both ends. And then they go through these stretches where they could not get stops. So let's take the Texas A&M game on Thanksgiving Day. Penn State is playing beautifully in the first 14 minutes. I mean, beautifully. They're leading the game 24-22, and then the clock stopped. And everything broke down over there. I don't know, was it 10 to 15-minute delay, trying to fix the clock, trying to get the time back up, trying to get the shot clock right, trying to get the score back up. They couldn't get the score back up. Then they couldn't get the team fouls up. Then they couldn't get the timeouts up. It's like, I'm thinking, look, if the clock's running, we can keep score ourselves. Just run the clock. As long as the clock and the shot clocks are working, I don't care about the other part. But they wanted to at least get the score to go with the clock. They weren't then they were trying to get the timeouts and the team fouls on there, but they couldn't get either one of those on there. So finally, I said, looked at Dick. I said, give up the ghost. Let's go. Well, after that 10 to 15 minute delay, and it was significant, Texas A&M came out. They ran off 10 unanswered points. Like, okay. Suddenly, +2 became -8. And then Penn State made a couple of runs at them in the second half. Played well enough defensively. The offense was doing fine. Kern had a big dunk. I mean, we're sitting. Dick and I are sitting courtside, and the Kern dunk. Jason literally came out of nowhere. Like, you can usually see a guy, here he comes. Nope, it came out of nowhere. Came out of the pack, and he slammed it. It ended up being ESPN's number 2 top plays of the day. Two of us are like, whoa. All right. Then Nick got another one where he had a chance at a 3-point play, brought Penn State to within 3. Like, okay. But again, couldn't get stops. Now they're down 75-70. Mike takes another timeout. And again, could not get stops. Couldn't get the ball going downhill. Now, the Butler game, Joe Putnam did that with Dick because I was in Detroit. And I'll get to Detroit in a moment. And it sounded, based on what Dick was telling me, like the same thing happened. In fact, there were a lot of things about the Texas A&M game Dick and I both liked. There wasn't a lot he liked at all about the Butler game. All right, even though there's certain things like how they made a run at him down the stretch. Okay, got it. But yeah, again, you have to get stops. Yesterday, they played the vast majority of this tournament from behind. Said it once out of 1,000 times. You need to play from in front. The psychology of it is so important when you're playing with the lead. All right, so 3 minutes in, and Dick and I are courtside right at the foul line, right in the area where Kanye Clary got hurt. But because there were bodies between us and him, I never saw what happened. So I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he got hit or it was some whatever. I don't know how he got hurt. But all of a sudden he came out, and the first thing we thought was, well, he's got one foul. Because again, we didn't know he was hurt. He said, well, he's got one foul. Dick mentioned, he says, well, he has one foul. And I'm like, normally I'd wait till 2. But okay. But he's out, and all of a sudden I look, and they start putting wraps around his arm, his right arm. And Kanye, by the way, is left-handed. So they're putting wraps around his right arm. And we kept referencing it during the broadcast as to what they were doing, not doing while doing the game. There'd be a ball go out of bounds. You glance over and see, okay, how's he doing? They put a wrap on, then they take it off. Then they put another wrap on, then they take it off. When I mean a wrap, I mean like big, like bulky wrap. It's kind of like looked like you in the weight room after you're done.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just poking up.
I'm not surprised.
No.
You could throw a car over a hedge, and I know which car you want to throw. You can't stand your car. So we kept looking over, and he's still out. Meanwhile, Ace is playing really well. Ace Baldwin is playing really well. Puff, you could just see playing the multiple days, 3 games in 4 days. He's going to need a little more time. Q was playing decently. Nick Kern shot the ball well against Butler. He was 4 of 7 yesterday. Couldn't hit anything yesterday, and he had open shots. They finally got the lead, 55-52. You're like, all right, here we go. Finally, they're in front, 3-point lead, and then boom, 5 straight points by VCU. Great, now you're down 2. And then Billups, who last year redshirted for Mike. He got in a couple of games. He redshirted for Mike last year at VCU. You know how many points Billups had last year? 2. You want to know how many points Billups had going into this game this year? 24. in 6 games. 6 games, 24 points, career high 9. He scores 23. Now, is he in the scouting report? He absolutely is in the scouting report. Right? He was there. He was in the scouting report. As somebody who sat there and watched it, he's there. They talked about him. Right? But you don't go into the game thinking Billups is going to get 23 points. If Shulga gets a number, you expect it. He is a good player. Max Shulga. He is a good player. If Zeb Jackson gets points, I mean, the two of them average between the two of them just about 29, 30 points a game combined. So is it a surprise that they got points? No. But Billups? His career best is 9. And that was in the game against trying to think. They beat somebody really nondescript because they lost to McNeese, and then they beat Seattle. I'm trying to think the other, because they've actually played a good schedule. But there was one game they played, you're like, okay, and I think that's the game he had 9 in. Like, okay, great. 23? It was like watching Mason Gillis of Purdue all over again. Gillis had 30 in the
30.
game. I don't think he had 30 the rest of the season total. Every time we turn around, 3 good, 3 good. This is at Purdue, at Mackey. 3 good, 3 good. They're kind of looking like, what the heck are you talking about with this guy? He never had more. Gillis's career high had been 14 going into that game last year. 14, career high. And he'd been there 4 years. Like 30 points? I felt like we were watching a rerun of this with Billups. He was 4 for 15 on the season in threes. He was 1 for his last 9 entering the game in threes. He had 6 threes. He was 6 of 7. Like, what the? Now, was he open? Yeah, he was open. Now, originally, when he's open for a reason.
Yeah.
Okay? The first couple that he hit, he was open for a reason. The ones after that, you've got to cover them. And they got, and the players they had trouble with rotations. They had trouble stopping the ball downhill. And look, if anybody can straighten it out, it's Mike. I can tell you right now, Mike has now coached 7 games at Penn State, of which I've broadcast 6. So I didn't do the Butler game Friday. I'm around practice all the time. Mike is one hell of a coach. He really is. Right? Oh, they lost 3. Whoa. I'll borrow Dick Girardi. Whoa. That's YOWHOA. Right? Don't sit there and start judging things on 7 games. Don't do that. Right? I mean, please. Don't embarrass yourself.
Literally, because
don't embarrass yourself by just don't embarrass yourself, okay? Now, if we're going into year 3 and you're seeing stuff, okay, now we can have a discussion. You don't have these discussions 7 games into a career. For goodness sakes. Nope. It's like having this discussion about Micah after the UMass game. His first season, where they got blown out. You're looking around like, what the heck was this? Remember, my son came down from New Hampshire for the game. And he's like, geez, Dad. He says, at least the tickets were free. Like, I know. But I look around and I'm like, okay, they had a bad weekend. It was humbling. Mm-hmm. It was humbling. Right? But if anybody can straighten it out, it's going to be Mike and his staff. This is a pro head coach. This is an incredibly knowledgeable basketball coach who knows how to take very little and make something. Look at his record at Rice. Look at what he did at VCU. So please, are you mad and disappointed? Yes. Are you Are you entitled to be mad and disappointed? Of course you are. You don't want to see a team go into a tournament like that and come out, not winning a game. But if anybody can straighten out, it's the coach you have. Mike is one heck of a coach. And this is somebody who's been around who knows how many thousands of practices I've been to in my lifetime. You can tell who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right? You can tell who knows what they're doing. Right? Mike knows exactly what he's doing, why he's doing it. It's up to the players, though. They've got to be the ones to embrace it, grasp it, and go. It's difficult to put 10 parts together that have never played before. There's no continuity in the program because of how everything played in the off season. They had, it was a lot of, they did a lot of hard work, a lot of catch can, given some time to get it together the way they need it. The offense is going to be fine. There's no doubt in my mind the offense is going to be fine. Need to be a better three-point shooting team, though. There's no question. And it's not like they don't have three-point shooters. I mean, Leo O'Boyle's still trying to get himself into the mix of this whole thing again after, in the preseason, he was out for a long period of time, just like Puff was. Getting those two guys going will help. Getting Zach Hicks going will help. I thought DeMarco Dunn did good things offensively. And not having Kanye hurt yesterday, I haven't really gone too much into it. I mean, when he came back in, I give him credit for the guts of willing to. They finally put a sleeve on that. So I give him credit for coming back in the 6 minutes he was in, but he really was ineffective and didn't really, at either end of the floor, was contributing a lot. I give him credit for having the guts to go back out there. Dunn needs to be a better defender. Simple as that. It will help Hugh once Favor Ire gets back, because at least they can throw some minutes there. Ace, that's the best game he's played at Penn State. Let's see if that's a harbinger of things to come. But they need to create more offense with their defense. And it's, and that was the disheartening part about Texas A&M. Mike and I had just done, in the pregame show, a section on deflections and what deflections mean to disruption. Even if you don't get the ball, it disrupts an offense. It eats up more time. Now they have to reset. Or deflection means you get a steal and you go the other way. Dick and I felt that in the Texas A&M game, Penn State had, we thought, right around a dozen deflections. Right around that area. And 10 went to Texas A&M, and 7 of them led directly to baskets. Well, what? Sometimes bad fortune, good fortune, luck, whatever you want to call it, comes into play here. And that's one of those moments we sit back, we're looking at each other like, deflected, it goes to Coleman, slam dunk. You make the play, and it just turns out it goes to their guy. That was that Dick and I looked at each other in a commercial break and said, this is the strangest thing we've ever seen. Where one thing, deflection, it goes to Wade Taylor. Deflection, it goes to Tyrese Radford. Right. And I'm talking like directly to a basket. It's like it was planned out. It was crazy. Yesterday, not so much. Yesterday, they had a couple plays early defensively where they were, either got deflections or a steal, had them off balance. VCU was a relatively high turnover team at 14.7 a game. And then after that, it stopped. There was a long period of time where Penn State wasn't getting deflections. A long period of time Penn State wasn't getting a steal. And there was points where I think VCU hit 9 out of 11 shots at one point. It's hard. They know what end of the floor they need to do the work on. And that's what practice is going to be about this week. Then they'll have Bucknell coming up on Saturday at noon. And then it's Big Ten play at Maryland on the 6th, and then Ohio State on Saturday the 9th at 6 o'clock. Then finals week, and then Georgia Tech at noon at Madison Square Garden. Then during the break, Lemoyne on the 21st and Ryder on the 29th. And then Big Ten play at Michigan State on the 4th of January. So that's where they are. So this is going to be a big week for them to say, hey, look, because Mike wants to play great offense. That's why Joe Crispin's here, right? Meanwhile, Brent, Jamal, Mike, they know all about the defensive end. It's part of their calling card. This is the part they've been working, but they've got it like, hey, look, here, all the stuff we've been telling you, this is why when you don't do it, all right, this is what happens. When you do what we tell you to do, this is the good stuff that happens. When you don't do it, this is what happens. So the video is going to be invaluable, okay? Because believe me, you don't think they're not like emphasizing this every single day? Of course they are. But now they've got a lot of videos saying, look, when you do it, notice the results. When you don't do it, notice the results. And they've got time this week to go through that. It'll be an important week for them. Every week's important, but this will be important because of what they know they need to clean up right now. All right? It's not like Dunn didn't shoot the ball well, he did. It's not like Ace didn't play his best game at Penn State, he did. It's not like Wahab didn't do some good things yesterday. He did. And so it's not like, but coming out of there without a win, humbling, no question. And it will be a message that we'll look at. He said, how do you feel right now? Okay. Why don't you try, like, when it comes to, like, the defensive end, why don't you try it our way? Like, for the full 40 minutes. Because I never thought I'd go a guy 7 games in, I'd have to defend the guy. This guy can flat out coach. And he's and fits the Penn State mold beautifully. I'm a big Mike Rhodes guy. I mean, I'm talking a short period of time. I am a big Mike Rhodes guy. I can see he is a pro's pro as a coach and is a good man. Football. No, we're not going to get to your team yet. Jeez, every time I
You are. I'm a Penn State grad.
You only want to talk about. You got the stupid red jacket here today. Is that your Columbia jacket? Or?
It is.
Okay, there you go. It's the same color as your car.
It is.
You hate your car.
Not a big fan. It's giving me some issues.
Some. Oh, I got to hear about it all the time.
Well, in the tow trucks you ride home a lot of times, that's trouble.
That's why you're named the AAA member of the year.
I had the gold card.
We love you. I bet you do. 42-0.
Yeah.
This played, for the most part, a beautiful game.
Complete. Yeah.
On Friday night. Ford Field is a weird place.
I saw even the where media sits. It is interesting. It really is.
Well, okay. But you know what was strange for us? The Detroit Lions would not allow Michigan State to use their booth. Like, what? What's so sacred about that?
Yeah.
I mean, like, if there's a high school game in Beaver Stadium, I don't care who's sitting in the booth. Who cares? It's a booth. The Detroit Lions would not let anybody go in their booth. It was locked. So Michigan State had to go to the visitors broadcast booth, which is just down the hall from the Lions. Meanwhile, Jack and I, Roger, we were over in the auxiliary Westwood 1 booth at about the 5-yard line. Like the 5-10-yard line. Like, it was weird. It's built on top of the old, I think, Hudson's warehouse.
Yeah. Yep.
Hudson's is a department store, a Midwest department store like Macy's. Mm-hmm. In fact, you saw that Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Well, Hudson's used to have its own Thanksgiving Day Parade that was right after the Macy's Parade, just like Eaton's up in Toronto had the Eaton Santa Claus Parade way back when. Well, underneath is an absolute maze because of the fact it's an old warehouse. You've got to walk down this ramp to get on the field. Now, I will say this. The field, that is the best artificial turf field I have ever walked on, ever. I guess there are 3 types of field turf fields. This is supposed to be the one that's closest to grass. It is a phenomenal field. I sat back and went, I said to Jack, I said, this is big time. He says, yeah. He says, imagine playing on this. I said, yeah, because you played on the worst surface ever.
One of the absolute worst.
Jack,
no doubt.
Jack played on the worst. He and his teammates played on the worst surface. And it was the same surface in Cincinnati, same one at
Veterans
the Vet,
Stadium.
same one, across the board. They played on a lot of bad surfaces during his era. The surface was great. I can see why Villanova complained at the 2009 Final Four about their locker room, because they'd come off the floor and then they'd go back to the locker room, then they'd have to come back, and you could spend 2 minutes in the locker room because you had to go back. It was so far back. And not only that, it's up to go back to the locker room. You got to go up a ramp. I mean, up a ramp. It's may not be cardiac hill like Pitt, but you had to go up a ramp to get there. So that part was strange. The stadium itself, seats are all right on top of the field, but it's still strange with girders and it's a different place. They do a lot with it. It's nice. The game itself, I could tell on Monday last week, Drew looked really good on Monday last week. I know Tuesday he just did visual reps, whatever. But Monday, you could bang, bang, bang. I said to Jack, he's going to be fine. That's why I think Doug from Wellsboro called the pregame show, asked about Drew, and I went, no, he's starting. He's fine. All right? Well, I think the way he played backed up the statement. He was fine. He played a beautiful game, I thought. Threw the ball confidently, accurately. Allen was fabulous. You could tell Singleton was in high gear. Offensive
got him outside,
line,
too.
Got him outside. The play calling was excellent. The two tight ends, especially Theo, had big games. The way they used Bo was great.
Yep.
I was kidding Bo after the game, going out to the bus, and they said, Bo, jeez. I said, Jack and I said, when you came in the game by the goal line, he said, they called timeout because he came in the game. Right? He says, yeah. And he says, I was so ticked off about that. He says, because we were raring to go. We were ready. He says, I wanted to run the play. And then the deep ball to Evans was a
absolute
great throw. And then he's down at the half-yard line.
Frustrated with himself,
Yeah. But they had a great mix. They had him completely off balance. I mean, Penn State ended up with nearly 600 yards, 23 first downs. And then defensively,
incredible.
They played phenomenal. They only gave up 5 first downs in the game, and I think a couple of them were.
Yeah, on that first drive. Yeah, there were 2 or 3.
That's when they're running the script.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Yeah, very similar to.
And then Reed got the interception. I was so happy for him because he's a Detroit kid. To get an interception in that stadium with his family and friends all there, they had a great meeting. Theo catching the touchdown pass. Right over the river in Windsor. All of them there to see him, which was great. It was, and everything was open. I mean, after that Niagara Falls thing happened last week, people were like, are they going to close up, the bridge or the Ambassador Bridge? Are they going to close up the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel? No, they were all open, so it was great. So they all got a chance to come over, see him. It was, and he catches the touchdown pass. And Riley Thompson punting well, punt returns by Hardy. Long field goal by Falcons, who's been great. He's got 99 points now. And they capped it the way you hoped that they would cap it. They end up with 10 wins. That's 5 times in 8 years. They've had 10 or better. There are, I think, only 7 schools in the country that have done that in the last 8 years. Or in the college football playoff era, which goes back even 2 years before that. I think only 7 teams have done that. I know everybody wants more. I completely understand that, right? I know that, but I understand this. Nobody wants more than James Franklin. Nobody wants more than the staff. Nobody wants more than the players. As much as you want it, they want it more. As much as you want it. But 10 wins is nothing to sneeze at. All right? Look how hard Texas has had to work to get to where they are. All right? Texas hasn't been winning 10 games a year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're as big a brand as you're going to
Absolutely.
As you're going to get. They haven't been winning 10 games a year. Look at USC. They're 7-5 this
USC.
year.
Yep.
They're 7-5 this year. Right?
7-5 this year and paid a lot of money to a coach.
Right.
Yep.
Well, Texas paid a lot of money for Sarkisian.
Yeah, Sarkisian, absolutely.
Right? Guess what? They've been kind of like close, spinning. They finally have a breakthrough year. Yep. And even now, they're still on the outside looking in for the playoff.
Good chance if any of the top four lose, they are the team that
they should because they beat Alabama by double digits in Tuscaloosa.
Exactly why I think they will probably get in.
I don't want to hear this garbage, and it's garbage about, well, Alabama's playing so well now, and they beat Georgia. Whoa, stop. Okay? You had your shot at home, lost by double digits. Okay? End of argument.
Their performance on Saturday did not help them either.
End of our and that was as poorly coached at the end as I can. I have never when the play started, I said to Dick, this is before the play started. Dick Girardi, Joe Putnam, and I are watching it. I looked at those guys and said, you need to rush 4 with this guy.
Oh, no doubt.
I said, rush 4.
At the absolute worst, rush 3. Right? More than 2.
They rushed 2.
Yeah.
Right? And when they rushed 2, this is the play's going. I said, he's going to throw a touchdown. This is while the play's going. I said, they're going to give up a touchdown.
When you have that much time?
Right? And he threw and he hit him for a touchdown. Now, here's the next part. If you're the defensive back, the ball's coming in that direction. Shove him to the ground. Yeah. Why? Because it's a 15-yard penalty.
Yeah.
The ball is not placed at the 2-yard line.
No, that's not a spot foul.
Okay, it's not a spot foul.
Right.
Okay? They would have would have been first down and 10 at the 16.
Yeah.
But at least you would have stopped the touchdown.
Yeah.
Like, you sit back and go, how could you botch this up?
That's awful. And you think about what Hugh Freeze has done this year. This could have been the moment where he could have really silenced everybody with how poor of a job as he's coached this year when he's done a bad job.
New Mexico State.
Yeah, New Mexico State gets a $1.9 million check and a 28-point win. And now, you look at what he did. Those final 2 minutes. Well, those final 30 seconds.
It was terrible.
It's terrible. There's no excuse for it.
Terrible. Right? And it's like, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Florida State without Travis really struggled against Florida.
Yeah, I think that was to be expected. I at the Swamp, I think even as a 5-7 team, the one thing I would say,
Florida's not a good team,
and they've lost the team too. Coaching has lost that team. They really have completely. That is definitely they're a mess. It is a game where I think Florida was going to be ready to play. There's no doubt. Florida State, I think, is in a bit of trouble. There's no doubt.
But they're undefeated.
But they're undefeated.
And you cannot take an undefeated team out of the mix. You can't do it.
No, absolutely not. And I think if they can beat Louisville, they're in.
They're in. If they beat Louisville, they're in. There's only 4 undefeated teams left. That's it. You go through with a Division I schedule, you should be.
I agree.
You should be in it. This is not. There'll be a lot of. There'll be made for TV arguments this week to try and get you interested in what's going on.
Yeah,
and all it is just verbal.
That's exactly
verbal mush.
Yeah.
The bottom line is you're undefeated. You're in. Texas Alabama argument. Sorry, Texas settled it. They went to Tuscaloosa, beat them. That's over with.
No doubt.
If somebody loses,
Texas should be
right. Now you can start to
two teams lose. I think you make the argument Ohio State over Alabama.
Right.
So I think to me, there's Alabama. I would put third.
But Louisville. Here's the weird thing: Louisville is no worse than the Orange Bowl.
Yeah. No.
Right? They're going to the Orange Bowl no matter what.
Yeah.
They win. They're going to the Orange. They go to the Orange Bowl. If they lose, they're going to the Orange Bowl. Because they get the ACC has to have a team.
Large. Yep.
Ohio State right now would be in line for the Orange Bowl because the Rose Bowl, right, is hosting a playoff.
Yeah.
Because they're hosting a playoff, the Orange Bowl automatically becomes the Big Ten site. That's how it works. For Penn State, we've heard Cotton, Fiesta, and Peach Bowls Penn State, I expect to be 10 when it comes out tomorrow night, which squarely puts them in. Now, at that point, like, does Iowa win? Does Louisville win?
That would.
Doesn't, No, that's not happening.
No, Iowa couldn't. Iowa sets the game of football back. Iowa's offense sets the game of football back 25 years.
It was comical.
Yeah.
I'm watching your guy's brother from Nebraska.
Yeah.
Right? So, Hill for Iowa, back to pass throws, intercepted. You're like going, Jack and I are laughing. Like, you got to be kidding me. Then Purdy gets up, and they run a zone blitz, and they drop Hackett, the defensive end. He throws it right to him. Like, you've got to be kidding me. And then they bring the backup kicker in. And he had a good week kicking. The ball barely got there. It was a 30-yard field goal. The ball just barely went over the crossbar.
Man. Yeah,
Holy, I don't know how Nebraska didn't block it.
Yeah.
He had a good week. He had a good week. Really?
Michigan loses that game. There is absolutely zero chance I put them in the playoff in any way, shape, or form.
I know.
They lose that game.
Same thing with Florida State. They lose to Louisville.
Yeah,
Louisville is a good team. They're not a
they're not a great team.
Okay, there's great, very good, good. Louisville's good. They're not even, to me, very good. They're just good.
No, and I think they're wrong. I think you could make the argument Kentucky is darn close to Louisville. They're not.
Sure
And
let's stop the Mark Stoops. I love staying in Kentucky, so I stay.
Yeah.
No, that's not what happened.
Not quite.
Okay, I will tell. This is what happened. Okay, it's not to the level of Greg Schiano at Tennessee, which was awful and ugly. Okay, and in the end, I think a mistake for Tennessee. That's just me. Okay, what happened was, the big money people and other assorted boosters, okay, and flooding of fan bases and message boards and things like that, they were so negative about Stoops, like they withdrew the offer,
Yeah.
They withdrew the offer.
Yep.
Right? I'm happy. Sure you are. I'm going to stay at Kentucky. I love these players. Well, it's like when Harbaugh was with the Vikings. Right? Why do you interview for 9 hours and then say, I want to stay at Michigan? You're going to stay at Michigan, so they're not going to hire you.
You betcha.
Hey, all right, it's like, sorry. All right, let's close out with 49 good seconds. Let's go seconds.
I'll tell you what, they played it pretty well, obviously, in Thanksgiving night, but I think the concerns are still there. I think the pass rush is still missing, and that could be a big issue.
You got Chase Young.
You got Chase Young.
Is there anybody else you can hire?
The pass rush is not. I can't say it's missing.
Is there anybody else you can hire? You've gone out and stolen everybody else.
Well, I can't say it's missing. The 49ers have gotten 7 sacks in the last.
Come on.
So I can't say it's totally missing.
What's next? You're going to bring Giancarlo Stanton in? What are you going to do? Come on.
I can't say it's missing. That was a little off on my part. But the other part of it is the concern the opposite way. I think if you're talking about just this week, Eagles pass rush against 49ers offensive line, big concern. There's no question. I don't think the
Eagles pass rush has been that good.
It's not been great, but the 49ers offensive line has been worse. Trent Williams, if he ever goes down again, that line is atrocious.
I mean, the odd thing is the Eagles have won their last 2 games because the other team lost.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Chiefs especially.
I mean, when the Eagles player of the game is Watson, the wide receiver for the Chiefs.
Scanlon. Yep.
Because remember, even on the punt,
Scanlon dropping it too.
But even on the punt, who missed the ball at the 1 yard line and let it go into the end zone? It was Watson. Like even on that, come on. You want to talk about a guy having an off night? I know he caught a touchdown pass yesterday, but still against the Raiders,
sure did.
And Kelsey had drops, the whole thing. They had. I mean, Kansas City played way better than Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah, played them completely.
And lost.
Yeah, and lost.
The Bills played way better than Philadelphia.
Josh Allen had almost a career. I threw the interception, yes, but other than that, had almost a career game yesterday. Played incredible.
Right. Davis goes the wrong way in overtime. Like, what are we doing here? He's wide open.
He's wide open. He's got him completely beat.
They missed 2 field goals.
That was huge.
Missed 2 field goals. I mean, the teams win. I always feel like 90% of the team somebody wins.
Yeah.
And then 10% of the time, the last 2 weeks,
Yeah.
the Eagles have ended up being the winning team, but it's because the other team lost the game.
I agree.
Right? Eagles fans don't want to hear that. We're the greatest thing ever. Oh, God, and the 70 Steelers and a player on your team I want. Sorry. Okay. Our wide receivers. Oh, I like Stallworth and Swan. Your guy fumbled. Your guy fumbled yesterday.
Devontae Smith has played a lot better in these last couple weeks.
Smith's played really well.
Yeah, he's played real well.
And
they're missing Dallas Goedert.
They missed Goedert.
Yeah, there's no question they missed Goedert. Not taken away from A.J. Brown's had a great year aside from the fumble yesterday. But
he's been actually the last 2 weeks.
Last 2 weeks he's been
but
the weeks before that he was over 125 yards every week.
Playing great.
And he's played great.
But, all right.
Yeah, and I think part of that again is Goddard. I think they miss him. There's no question about that. It's a big part of that offense that is non-existent.
We will talk more about your team. And
I'll be hearing about it all week. Don't worry about that.
The Armageddon they are walking into against the most dominant team in the history. No, they're not the dominant team of this year. All right. We'll talk to you tomorrow.